MLS Cup, US Open Cup, Leagues Cup, Supporters Shield, Concacaf Champions Cup. And that's just the trophies for the MLS teams. If you're new to soccer in the US, you might be wondering, why do all these soccer teams play for so many different trophies? It's kind of confusing, right? Well, there are three main reasons for this. Number one, the global soccer culture. Soccer is different from other American sports. Teams don't just compete in one league, they play in multiple competitions at the same time. This is how it works all over the world with leagues, domestic cups, international tournaments happening every season. The US just follows that global model for soccer. Number two, more games equals more ticket sales and TV deals. Let's be real. More games means more money. Extra tournaments bring in more ticket sales, sponsorships, and TV deals. That's why leagues like MLS and NWSL keep adding new competitions, like the Leagues Cup and the Challenge Cup. Number three, more ways to win and more games for fans. More trophies means more chances for teams to win something every year. Even if your team isn't the best in the league, they might win a cup competition. And for fans, it just means more soccer to watch. So, yeah, it's a lot, but don't worry. In this video, I'm breaking down every trophy and what they mean. Now, let's make some sense of all these trophies. All right, let's talk about trophies. So there's a lot of them. Oh, hello. And apparently Clue is going to help us out with this today. Say hello to everybody, Clue. Hi. Good kitty. All right. All right, Clue, we're going to talk about trophies, okay? But in order to do this, we're going to have to break it down into bite-sized chunks. Let's start with MLS and NWSL. Those are two of the they're in Division 1 in the American soccer pyramid, as we know. Then after that, we're going to talk about international club tournaments. And finally, we're going to end up talking about the US men's and women's national teams and the trophies that they play for. So there's a lot. Every league has a tons of trophies when it comes to American soccer. So we're going to kind of focus on the national teams as well as two of the more prominent Division 1 leagues, MLS and NWSL. Let's get started. MLS Cup. All the MLS teams who compete for this, and it's the league's championship trophy. So this is awarded to the winner of the MLS Cup playoffs. Yes, there is playoffs in an American sport. Go figure. A lot of not American leagues across the world, a lot of them don't do a playoff. You know, some of them do, but some of them don't. Playoffs are a very American thing, so of course MLS has an MLS Cup playoff, and they play in a tournament at the end of their regular season. Next up, the Supporters Shield. This is awarded to the team with the best record across both MLS conferences in the regular season. So take a look at the standings at the end of the year, and whoever's on top wins your Supporters Shield. This is actually how a lot of leagues across the world think of this as their Super Bowl, right? America likes to focus on the playoffs. The rest of the world, their championship is like their Supporter Shield. But for MLS, in our case, we have the MLS Cup for the playoffs, and then for the winner of the regular season, if you will, or to be at the top of the table, as they call it, that is the winner of the Supporters Shield. Leagues Cup, just so you know, started a few years ago. This is between MLS and Liga MX. If you're not familiar with that league, they play in Mexico. So we have a tournament between these two leagues, and the winner gets Leagues Cup as well as a Concacaf Champions Cup spot. The NWSL Championship. So this is the league's championship trophy awarded to the winner of the NWSL playoffs. So similar to MLS, the NWSL also has a playoff, and the NWSL championship trophy goes to them. Also similar to MLS, the NWSL also has their version of the Supporter Shield, and that is the NWSL Shield. the best regular season NWSL team. The NWSL Challenge Cup. All NWSL teams can compete for this, and it's an annual in-season tournament among the NWSL clubs. So the U.S. Open Cup is the oldest soccer competition in the U.S., and it is a knockout tournament open to all U.S. clubs, including amateur teams. So yes, your Flower City Unions and your Buffalo Stallions in the NPSL, as well as your FC Buffalo in USL League Two, they have the opportunity to be a part of this tournament as well. Really fun tournament because you get to see some of these lower level teams play against MLS clubs. So very cool. And of course, the Rochester Rhinos in 1999 were the champions of the U.S. Open Cup. Next up, let's talk about international club tournaments. And first up is the Concacaf Champions. This is CONCACAF clubs. So we talked about CONCACAF in one of my previous videos. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. That's the one where I talk about the U.S. men's and women's national teams. Click on that because I'll talk about CONCACAF. But when we talk about CONCACAF, we're talking about the region. The top leagues play in a club tournament in North America. So the winner qualifies for the FIFA Club World Cup. So again, these aren't leagues. These are going to be clubs within top leagues in this region. Next up is the Club World Cup. We all know about the FIFA World Cup. That's coming to America, Canada, and Mexico next year in 2026. But have you heard of the FIFA Club World Cup? So this is similar. It's the biggest and best tournament in the world. But instead of nations, it's teams. So it's the best clubs in the world, right? And you may or may not know, this June, from mid-June to mid-July, the FIFA Club World Cup is going to be hosted in America. So in stadiums all over the U.S., stay tuned for that because it's going to be a fun show and you'll get to see all the top clubs from all over the world. Next up, the Campeones Cup, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, and take the MLS Cup winner, take the Liga MX winner in Mexico, and they have a match together, and they play for the Campeones Cup, an annual match between those two leagues' champions. Let's talk about the U.S. men's and women's national teams and the tournaments that they're involved with. The FIFA World Cup. So, you've heard of it. It's the most prestigious tournament in global soccer. It's held every 4 years. And in 2026, that'll be hosted by America, Canada, and Mexico. CONCACAF Gold Cup. This is the top men's international competition in North America, usually held every 2 years. So think of this as the CONCACAF region's premier event between different countries. We have CONCACAF Nations League. This is a newer competition where CONCACAF nations compete for a continental title and qualification to other tournaments. So think of the Nations League as a step below the Gold Cup for CONCACAF. So this is important because it gets these nations playing, and it gets them used to playing in international competition. So again, more competition between more countries in this region, especially if they don't qualify for Gold Cup. Well, here's another opportunity for nations in this region to get involved. CONCACAF W Championship. This is the top women's international competition in North America, serving as World Cup and Olympic qualifying as well. So the premier international women's competition in the CONCACAF region. And lastly, but not least, the She Believes Cup. So this is an annual invitational women's tournament featuring top international teams. And that's it for the trophies we're going to talk about today. We'll see you at my next video. Take care.